We're back up at the cabin here, the off-grid small cabin project here, and actually got a little project we're working on. I'm seeing how ambitious I can. We actually decided to come up here for the week, and so I am working on a project that I've been wanting to do for quite a while now. We've been putting propane canisters inside, you know, with the little cook stove in there, and I wanted to make kind of a permanent fixture for this. So my dad actually gave me, this is my grandpa's old, it's like an aluminum box that he used to use back in the 80s. They would propane inject trucks, I guess, I don't know why, but it would apparently give a little bit better fuel economy. And propane was a lot cheaper then, I think. So he would put this in the back of his truck, and it holds 2 barbecue style propane tanks, and I'll show you that in a minute. But it makes a nice box, nice sturdy box. So I mounted it to a couple of the vertical piece of wood in there. Inside there, I lagged in some screws on top here and anchored it to the bottom. So this thing's really solid now. It's holding 1 propane tank. You know, if it gets a little unstable, I can always put something under it, but I just kind of wanted it to be up off the ground. So this holds the propane. You can see, I don't know if you can barely see in the frame here, but there's a start of a platform. I actually have some video that I'll roll back, and I started kit building this at home like I do with everything else, but I just got the platform done. I ran out of time, so I have some cedar lumber here, and then there's a hardware store down the road that I'm going to get some 4x4 posts. So I may have time to actually get that done. It's not a super big priority, but I think we might actually finish up the insulation and start working on the sheetrock on the inside. That's more important than this, but I have the shower, the propane shower thing. So this is going to actually have 1 propane tank that's going to go for the shower. The other one's going to go for the appliances indoors, which is the fridge and the range. So I have to kind of hook these up together and get them all, you know, I have a T-fitting, and I'm kind of learning as I go here, but basically I'm using 3/8 inch copper tubing, 3/8 OD copper tubing, and I think it's kind of thin wall stuff. So, you know, I have all these tools here for flaring it, and I was actually going to show kind of how I'm learning here a bit and what happens when you get a leak and how to test for that. So what I've done is I'll show you the connections indoors, but the majority of my connections are done right here, and there's just 1, 2, 3 connections right up here, and then the idea being is that there's just less stuff to leak indoors, so I don't want that. And it's also down below everything. Even if this does happen to leak or something happens, you know, it's just going to vent out, and, you know, propane sinks. So I'd rather have all this stuff, you know, down below than, you know, even in the side where it has a chance to kind of, you know, sort of go back in the cabin. So that's my initial thoughts on it. You know, I'm not an expert at it, but I'm learning, and it seems to be going pretty well. I do have 1 leak right here, and I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, so here's the tool setup. I'm still trying to figure out the right audio gains for this thing. This mic kind of goes hot every now and then, but here's my tools, the tools I got for this project. So I have my copper tubing cutter, and this thing works really well. Actually, it's very easy to use, and it's actually made in the US, which is kind of neat. So I'm going to be needing this in a second. So this pipe goes in, and kind of, I made a generous radius on this. All these pipes have kind of a big coil up on the inside. I'll show you, but everything's got to be very, you know, 1.5 foot, 1 foot radius kind of bends in it. Otherwise, it will do this. You can kind of see example here, you know, how far you can go. The moment you press on it, you know, it'll just start to kink on you. So you can do it really carefully, and I try to make it to where it gets maximum flow in there. I don't want it to, you know, turn into an oval too much. Plus, it makes it harder to get your fittings on it when it's not round. So make big generous radiuses, and leave yourself plenty of you know, room for error, just in case you need to shorten it like I have to do here. I'm going to take off a little bit, hopefully get a better flare. This one's not leaking. This one's fine, obviously. This one, I do have a leak, and I will show you that. I'm going to turn the propane on, and I'll demonstrate how to check for that and how obvious how obvious this stuff is. I'm going to turn the propane on. I did check for leaks indoors. There is so far none, even on this old 60s style camper fridge. So watch this. I got a little soap. It's just what I have. All-purpose cleaner. You can do whatever you want. Dish soap, probably even better. Try not to spray it with bubbles, but watch this. Watch what happens. Really obvious. Look at that bubble. See that? Zoom in on that. Look at this. Look at that right there. Really, and I don't even really smell it. I smell it just a little tiny bit. It's outdoors. Again, doing what it's supposed to do. Even if there's a leak, it's not going anywhere dangerous. It's going down propane sinks, so it's not going to go up into the cabin. But look at that. You can really see it. There's another bubble coming. So I got a problem with that flare that I did on that. So again, it's learning curve, and I'm trying to see if I can actually see it coming out. It's so faint. I mean, really, it's just a small leak. So I'm going to fix that right now, and I'll bring you along for the ride. All right. Take this off. Turn the propane off. We'll know in a second if it's on. I'll let out some gas here. I wonder if it's just not tight enough. Nah, I didn't do a very good flare. I wanted to see kind of how bad this flare would have to be to not work, and I think I found it. I could almost tell that it wasn't going to work. It was just too thin and had a little bit of a ding in it. They're just kind of finicky. You have to kind of work with them. It's kind of stuck. There we go. It's off. So, okay. Make sure everything's clean. Yeah, that's a kind of a bad flare. There's a little ding in it. I just wanted to see. I don't know if you can zoom in on that here. You might be able to see that. Right. It's got a little bump right there. I'm going to fix that. So let's zoom this out. I will attempt to fix it. Beetle up there. Let's try this here. Start fresh here. Take off about 3/4 of an inch. Just turn a little bit each time. It actually cuts really nice. I don't like to crank it down and put a big ding in it. So you have to just kind of be gentle with it. Turn it slightly as you go. Just a little bit. You know, you can go faster. I bet it'll cut right now. Without even turning it. A little bit more. But I like to try to keep it from making a big giant burr. Less for it to bend when you're making the flare. There it is. It's fairly clean. It's actually very clean on this side. Really clean. Hopefully you take advantage of that. So now I still got the nut on there. I need that. Always make sure you put these on first. I've done that a couple of times where I forget to do that. Now this little thing right here tends to kind of chew up things. I don't really like that, but it's really the only thing that I have. So you put it in the 3/8 slot. I'm going to give it just a little bit more. I'm going to try to let that hang out just a little bit. You want to try to get it even. I'm working kind of at an awkward angle, so it's always... let's give it just a little bit. Let's try that. I'm going to back this off a little bit. Make it even. Tighten it down. Now I left this sticking out just a little bit further than I did before. I don't know if that's good or bad. Tightening it. Now Now I put this little tool right here. That's a flare tool. Let me get this out of the way. There we go. You can kind of bend this. That's why you use generous amounts of tubing, so you can have room to kind of work. You can bend that wherever. Okay. I've had the most luck kind of working it forward. Again, I don't know if this is code, I don't know what technique, but I work it, back it off, kind of just bend it, back it, and I think that just the burnishing of this thing, and then just kind of working it back and forth, rather than just one foul, swoop, cranking it down. It's not the best looking one, but it looks fairly even inside of there. I don't know. I may need to do this one more time. For some reason, this one's leaving little marks on there. Maybe I need to get it tighter on that little clamp. And we'll give it a shot. We'll see what happens here. And you got to line everything back up. Okay, it's back on. I do have this tape, it's like a Teflon tape for gas lines. I haven't used any of it yet for this stuff, and I got some, but I don't think I need it. I haven't seen any leaks other than this one. So I'm going to try to just see, and this is a little bit awkward because I can't get a wrench on this one because it's T-fitting, so I'm having to be a little bit kind of careful with it. And there we go, let's try that. Get a little tighter. Yeah, that might be the ticket right there. It's biting in pretty good. Make sure that's on there. Okay, let's give that a shot. No anything this time. Spread it. I don't see it. I think we're good. I really do. Let's put some up here. Nope, they're only popping. They're not getting any bigger. That's great. Okay. So this it's not waterproof, it's not locked. The lock, I didn't have the key for it, so I just took it out. It's kind of funny, you can actually unbolt it. But right now I just have one propane tank in there, just a standard barbecue size tank. Regulator, you can get these at Home Depot, Lowe's, whatever. And they just mount in. Soft line. And so it just goes in there like that. There's a hole, goes out, so all the gases will go to the bottom and they'll drain out of this thing. But it just makes a nice secure area for this to hold the tank and kind of keep it off the ground, keep it semi-dry, even though this isn't really waterproof. It's still under the eaves, and I don't think it'll get wet. If it does, it'll drain right out. The other tank will go right here. It has its own regulator. The shower that I have has its own regulator, so it's going to hopefully nest right in here, and then I have another hole out the bottom. And that'll go over here to the shower, the outdoor shower. That's the platform. I'll have the shower mounted somewhere, probably on the side of the building or on its own little mount. But I got some cedar here. I don't know how far I'm going to get on this today or this week, but I'll do what I can. You probably have already seen this in some videos. This old Dometic fridge from an old RV. Same RV. Had the range, stove top, and just kind of a mini fridge. So I don't know how much we're going to use this. I just have it plugged in. So maybe we'll use it or not. I have to make sure, on these old refrigerators, they're a little scary, to be honest. I mean, so this is a fireboard, and I think I'm going to actually put, some of this concrete fireboard up here, because they can, in a weird event, if they start leaking out of this, rusting, and it doesn't really matter what they look like. It's more where it goes into the fridge, where it kind of rusts out over time. And you'll start to smell this ammonia smell. If you start smelling that, it's time to get rid of the refrigerator, because it's already leaking, it's already losing pressure. So basically, just you have to keep an eye on that. So what I've done here is I've given it a generous coil. It makes it nice. You know, this bends really easily when you move it around. It kind of goes in there. I've run these 3/8 inch holes right out the bottom, right by where the sheetrock is going to go, or the paneling. And then as you can see behind this, behind it, I'm not going to move this, it's real heavy, but as you can see right, so we can back that out. There's the other line for the range, and that goes down into another hole, and that coils around a big coil right there. So I can actually pull this range out. I can unhook it from here. I'll show you. Lift it. So that's where it plugs in. So it's a fresh line, brand new line. Goes right out. And so that's actually an old connector. It works pretty good. A flare net. So yeah, that's hooked in now, hardwired to the cabin, and it should be working. Yeah, I've already tested the range and it works great. That'll at least get us some easy cooking, and yeah, that's it.